Living. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I flipped this old knit that I got from a thrift store into this cute little two-piece set, as you will see here. I actually bought 7 or 8 knits from Savers thrift store specifically to flip, and this one excited me the most because when I found it, I saw that little frill around the edge of the cardigan and I knew that that frill would be so perfect as a cute little trim. I knew almost straight away that I was going to make a cute little pair of shorts, and I'm really glad that what I sort of envisaged actually turned out, which sometimes doesn't happen when you're flipping or when you're altering things, but in this case I was really pleased with it. Flipping garments is a really creative way to get more wear out of your clothes. Heaven knows our environment needs us to stop buying so much, and so instead of going out and buying new things, especially trendy things which are just going to come and go and probably end up in landfill or at the op shop, instead we can find some old garments or secondhand garments and turn them into a really cute current modern garment that you will get a lot of wear out of. Check out the series if you like watching thrift flips or thrift hauls. I like to do that kind of thing. Also anything to do with sustainable fashion. You can leave a comment below if you have any questions or if you have suggestions for what I should do next. Let's get started.
This is the knit that I purchased from Savers for $9.99 Australian dollars. As I said, I saw this little ruffle and I knew that I could turn it into something really cute. It has this little closure at the front, which I'm going to take off. But really, when I got this cardigan, I knew that I would have enough fabric to do a little pair of shorts, but I didn't think that I would get a top out of it as well. I began with unpicking the little hook and eye that was at the front of the cardigan. I'm going to keep that just in case we need a hook and eye for later projects. It's a good idea to hold on to trims and these things so that we can reuse them later on. Next, I carefully found the edge of the ruffle where it's attached to the cardigan and used my fabric scissors to carefully cut it off. Then I also carefully trimmed off all the other seams of the garment. So for example, where the sleeves attached, where the side seams attached, and the shoulders attached. That's so that I don't have any random seams in my new garment. I would rather create the seams myself and get rid of any of the existing bulkiness or seams that already were there. It's a really good idea to pick which side of the seam that you're going to cut on so that you can really maximize the amount of fabric that you're getting out of this. Because these are pre-existing garments, we have to sort of really make use of whatever fabric we can. Next, I found a pair of shorts that I'm essentially going to use as a template to cut out a new pattern. After laying it down on the fabric that I had, I saw that I could actually use the sleeves for the shorts instead, and that I actually had enough to make the top. So it's a really good idea to be as economical as possible and really try and get the most out of each piece of fabric that you have. I always make sure to lay down my pieces in pairs. So for example, the sleeve on top of the other sleeve so that I can cut in pairs. It always saves time and it means you don't have to cut twice essentially, and I think it makes it more accurate because each of your pieces will be exactly the same. I made some small adjustments to the shorts that I was using as a template because I wanted them to be quite high cheeky cut, and that's also because I'm adding the frill to the edge. So here I'm going to pin the shape and then I'm going to sort of fold that over so that I can lay it down on my fabric and cut the shape that I want. It's really important to leave enough fabric for your seam allowance, and especially the top of your shorts, which need at least an inch or so for the width of your elastic that you're going to use around your waist. The elastic that I used is roughly an inch in width, so I'm going to make sure that I have at least an inch at the top of my shorts as extra. So once I was happy with the back pieces, I actually used those as a template to cut my front pieces. Your front pieces for shorts and pants are always going to be, usually smaller than the back pieces because your back pieces have more fabric to make room for your butt. So if you ever need to cut things out, try to start with your back pieces because they will take up more fabric than your fronts. Now you can see the shorts starting to take shape, so we can actually start sewing the front and the back crotch seams. So our two fronts, right sides together, right down the center front, and also the center back seam. So backs together, sewing straight down the center back seam. So I'm a little sneaky and I like to use a normal straight stitch wherever possible, just because I think the finish is much nicer, especially on a domestic machine. So for these seams, you can actually use just a normal straight stitch and go straight down that center front and center back. As a general rule though, if you are using knit stretch fabrics, you will need to use a zigzag stitch. And that is simply so that when you stretch out your fabrics, you don't break all the stitches. At this point, I could tell that the shorts were actually going to be way too tight, and so I had to add a side panel. So I found some of the fabric that I had left over and I cut a strip and basically inserted that into the side of the shorts to make it a bit wider around the body. The next step is to cut your elastic to the right measurement. You want to wrap it around your waist and find a really comfortable point where it's not too tight and not too loose. And then overlap and sew over it in a little box shape. Next, I sort of pieced together random bits of fabric to get my waistband piece. Your waistband piece is essentially just a long rectangle which ideally measures the same as your waist, and then we fold that over the elastic so that it's hidden inside like that, and then we attach it to the top of your shorts. Again, I did do a little sneaky and I used a straight stitch just by pulling out the fabric, but in this instance you really should use a zigzag stitch. These are the settings on my domestic machine that I would usually use with a zigzag stitch. Now I've sewn up the side seams and the front and back crotch together, and I tried them on, and I actually wanted to cut off a bit more to make these even cheekier. And now I can finally start to attach the ruffle. So to do this, I need to measure the leg hole to see what length of ruffle I need. Just use a measuring tape and go around the outside of the leg opening to get a pretty accurate measurement, and then cut your ruffle to size. Then you can basically sew the ruffle piece together like so, and then attach that to the bottom of your shorts. The easy way to do that is to have your shorts the right way out and turn your ruffle inside out and pop that around the outside of your leg opening. Alrighty, and those are the shorts done. Now for the top, I found one of my own tank tops that had the sort of similar fit that I wanted and basically traced that off. I pieced together all the random bits and bobs that I had left over after I'd done the shorts, and I managed to find these rib pieces that I was going to use for the underarms, the frill for the hem, and then I'm going to turn the top over like that and use the little frill for the shoulder straps as well. I used a little bit of elastic across the top to give it a bit more structure because I didn't want the top of the top to stretch out. After I did that, I attached these little rib pieces to the underarms, which finished really nicely. And then I shaped the straps for the shoulders. I made the ruffle at the top part a little bit wider than the ruffle at the bottom, which gives it a nice little bit of shape. I zigzagged across the edges so that it wouldn't fray, and also to give it a little bit more strength because it is the shoulder strap. And then I attached that to the front and the back. Once they were attached, I folded over the top part of the front and back, the bits where I put the elastic, and then zigzagged across that so that everything was nice and neat and held in place. The last thing to do was attach the frill to the hem of the top, and I used the same technique that I did for the shorts. Now all that's left to do is give everything a really nice press. Technically, you should really press all of your seams throughout the sewing process, so every time you sew a seam, you should press it down before moving on to the next step, but I'm lazy and I don't do that, so I do everything at the end. So now my flipped knit set is complete.
Enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun making this particular set. Like I said, I really sort of envisaged this look from the beginning. I didn't think that I would get an entire top out of it as well, so I'm extra pleased that I have this cute little set going into summer here in Australia. Even if I wasn't going into summer, this would be a really cute like loungy type thing where you can, you know, wear it when you're watching TV, snuggled up in winter with like a big oversized jumper. I can kind of see myself getting a lot of wear out of this little set. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, give this video a thumbs up because it lets me know that there are people watching, and that's very encouraging for me personally because I really enjoy making these videos. See you again next time. Bye! I had so much fun doing this flip. Out of all the things that I bought from Savers to specifically flip, flipping garments is a really creative way to get more, oh, what's going on with my voice? Flipping garments is a really creative way to get more out of your wardrobe instead of giving, oh gosh.